Hello children of class 5. Welcome to this week's video on computers. Today we will finish revising chapter number 1, Evolution of Computers. Last week we had revised about ancient calculators and early computers. This week we will revise about generations of computers, characteristics of computers, and limitations of computers. When people talk about mobiles, you often hear terms like 2G, 3G, 4G, and even 5G. What does this G stand for? This G stands for generation. Now, with each generation, mobiles have become better. Every generation is an improvement on the previous one. 1G mobiles, you could only talk and listen. They were good only for phone calls, no internet. With 2G mobiles, internet became possible on the mobile. But downloading video files would be very slow. And speeds were also very low. With 3G, the internet speed became better. And you could now download video files also. And then came 4G. Now 4G is the latest, and we all know what we can do in 4G. We can easily download video files. We can do video chatting or video calling. And now let's talk about 5G, which is yet to come really, in which internet speeds will become much faster. In the same way, computers are also divided into generations. Computers are classified in 4 generations: first, second, third, and fourth. And there is a 5th generation which is partly in the present and partly yet to come. So, how do you differentiate from generation to generation? With each generation, computers became smaller, they became faster, they became more affordable, and their use became more and more widespread. So in the next part of the video, I will be discussing the various ways in which computers are classified into 4 generations. Now here we have 2 ways of classifying the various generations of the computer on the basis of the main component and the size of the computer. First generation computers were very big in size. They needed a big room to house them. The second generation computers were also very large, very big. One computer needed one room, maybe a smaller room than the ENIAC, but still one room. Third generation computers were also big in size. Okay? And the fourth generation computers are much smaller. The fourth generation computer started with the desktop computers, the big computers of today. The desktop computers came with the saying that you could put one computer on a desk, which was unthinkable in those days. The main component in the fourth generation computers, the main component was a microprocessor. There is a picture of a microprocessor. You know it as the CPU chip. The third generation computers used integrated circuits or ICs. Now you know what are ICs. Any electronic device, be it a TV or a music system or a mobile phone or a camera or an electronic toy, they would have these ICs inside. You know, those black things with silvery legs. Why didn't they use ICs in 1940? Because in 1940 there were no ICs. Integrated circuits had not been invented. Vacuum tubes were there, Vacuum tubes are no longer used nowadays. They burn out very fast. They are obsolete. But in those days, they were the latest in technology until transistors were invented in the mid 1950s. And when transistors came, people found that computers could also be designed with them instead of using vacuum tubes. Second generation computers, which used transistors instead of vacuum tubes, became smaller in size, gave off less heat, consumed less electricity, and very important, they broke down less. Then why did they stop using transistors and used integrated circuits? Because ICs were invented in the 1960s, and scientists found out that computers made with help of ICs became even better than transistors. They became even smaller in size, consumed even less electricity, and yes, in all the time, not only was the size of the computers getting smaller, their cost was also becoming less, which was very important. Input devices. I'll start with the fourth generation. The fourth generation computers, that is modern computers, use keyboard, mouse and scanner as input devices. You know what a keyboard looks like, of course, what a mouse looks like, how to use them, and how a scanner works. Third generation computers used keyboards. And just take a look at that keyboard. It was big and heavy in size. Then first and second generation computers, there were no keyboards. There were only something called punch cards and paper tapes. The first picture is that of a punch card and the second one is that of a paper tape. Output devices. Today in the fourth generation, we use printers, monitors, also plotters and speakers. Third generation computers, there were no plotters, no speakers, only printers and monitors. Second generation, first generation, they had only printers. And when you talk about printers in those days, don't think about laser printers or inkjet printers. Those had not been invented as yet. Not even the small daisy-wheel printer, small dot matrix printer, which you will find in the fees office, that noisy printer. Even that was not invented. Printers were big in size and they were very noisy and much slower than today's printers. Output devices, storage devices. Storage devices. Today, fourth generation computers use magnetic disks like hard disks and optical disks like CDs, and also solid state disks like pen drives and memory cards. In the third generation computers, there were only magnetic disks or hard disks. So today we have hard disks. In those days also there were hard disks. What's the difference? Difference is in the size. I think all of you know what a modern hard disk looks like. It is smaller than a tiffin box that you bring to school. And look at the picture of the third generation. Something is being lifted. One big box-like thing is being lifted into an aeroplane. That big box-like thing being lifted into the aeroplane is the world's first hard disk. How big it was. It needed a crane to be lifted into an aeroplane. In the first and second generation computers, there were no hard disk. There were only magnetic tapes. These were very slow. Now we'll talk about the fifth generation computers, the so-called future generation computers. Future generation computers, fifth generation, will have intelligence. They will be able to think. They will be able to imitate human learning. These are things still much in the future. Though you do hear of something called artificial intelligence or machine intelligence. Maybe some of you will make careers in those things. Now these computers will be able to think. Today computers cannot think. They will be able to imitate human learning. Now, What is human learning? Do you know how to do fractions? Yes, of course. In maths you have learned how to do fractions. But you would not have been able to do fractions. Mr. Peter would not have been able to teach you fractions if your KG teacher did not teach you how to divide. So you keep learning, and on the basis of what you learn new things. That is human learning. Computers cannot learn that. If I store some program in it, so long as that program is there, it will do that work. Once that program is removed, it will no longer be able to do that. That may change in the future. Input device will be voice input. This is not the future, it's already there. Voice recognition. That means you give commands to the computer by voice. Secondary storage will be cloud storage and solid state drives. Gradually, hard disks, magnetic disks like hard disk, are being phased out by solid state drives. Does your mobile phone have a hard disk? No, but still has a high storage. That is a solid state storage. And something called cloud storage. Okay, that is a new concept which is also already there. Cloud storage means you store your data not in your computer or in any pen drive or memory card or anything, but on the internet. Now I will revise about the characteristics of a computer. First, let us understand what do you mean by characteristics. Characteristics means the abilities or the qualities with which you describe something or some person. For example, if you say a student is studious, that means he studies a lot. You say a person is smart. You say somebody is brave. Somebody is well behaved. These are all characteristics. Now, in the next part of the video, I'll be talking about various characteristics of a computer which make the computer such an useful machine. The first characteristics we'll talk about is accuracy. How much mistakes does a computer make? Unlike us human beings. We human beings, we do make mistakes while doing calculations. How much is 30 minus 21? Answer is 9. You go around randomly asking 100 people this very simple calculation, and without giving them any opportunity to think, tell them you answer in 2 seconds. Many will make mistakes. Simple calculation. Everybody knows how to subtract 21 from 30. But if you don't give people time to think, most of them will make mistakes. Many of them will, or at least some of them will make mistakes. Accuracy refers to what percentage of error occurs while performing a task. Computers make no mistakes. This means the accuracy is 100%. So if you got a long table of facts and figures coming from the computers, you can be assured it is correct. You get your report card. In your report card, you have your year's average and things like that, the sum of the internal assessment and exam marks. You can be assured all those calculations are correct. Next characteristic is speed. Speed is the amount of time to do a task. A computer works very fast and can do a large number of calculations quickly. Okay, so computer does the work very quickly and it does it without making mistakes. Reliability. How reliable is a computer? How much can you depend on a computer? In case of a computer failure, we can use backup hardware and software. Just try to understand this. Your teacher also writes his or her marks in the marks register. For the marks register, there is no backup. If the teacher loses the marks register, the marks are gone. But the marks stored in the computer or any other data stored in the computer can be easily copied to a pen drive or to a CD or even in the internet. So in case something happens to your computer and your data is lost, you can always get the data from where you had copied it. Storage. How much can you store here? Well, more than you could store in kg, but still nothing compared to a computer. A computer can store an immense amount of data. An immense amount of data. After your exams, you would probably remember your own marks and maybe the marks of your friend. But the computer remembers, stores the marks of not only you and your friend, not only of your entire class, not only of all the sections and classes of junior school, but of the entire school. The marks of the entire school are stored in the computer, and still there will be place to store much more data. Diligence. Unlike human beings, computers do not get tired or bored of work. We are human beings, so we get tired, and no matter what we are doing, we get bored, and from time to time we look here, we look there, we look down, we go to drink water. Computer does not have to do that. A computer can work for very long periods of time without any break. Multitasking. A computer can perform more than one program at a time. Multitasking means performing more than one task at a time. So, an example, you can type a document using MS Word and at the same time listen to music on a music player like Windows Media Player. Just now I talked about the various characteristics of a computer. Now we will talk about the limitations of computers. That is, things that a computer cannot do. Things in which a human being is still superior. So, in this part, I'll be talking about various ways in which computers have shortcomings. First limitation I'm going to talk about is an incapability to think. A computer cannot think and take decisions on its own. In case of any error, it cannot take an alternative action because it cannot think. Okay? So it only works on the basis of that program. If it encounters a situation which it is not programmed for, then it cannot function. No intelligence. A computer has no intelligence. Computer has zero intelligence. Okay? So you hear often people say that he has a computer brain. You don't realize, but when you call somebody as a computer brain, you are not praising that person, you are actually insulting him. Dependence on power. Computer runs on electricity, so too much work on the computer will increase your electricity bill. So with that, children, we come to the end of today's video. Today we finished revising chapter number 1, Evolution of Computers. Today I discussed about generations of computers, limitations of computers, and characteristics of computers. Next week there will be no video. Instead, there will be an online class on chapter 1, Evolution of Computers. So till then, tata and be safe.